Richmond isn't predictable. You could cross the river and feel like you jumped into a whole different lifetime. Murals and craft breweries in Scott's Addition, cobblestones and front porches in Churchill, glass towers catching sunsets over Manchester. It's the kind of city that keeps you guessing and kind of proud you're in on the secret. Everyone has opinions about which neighborhoods feel unique, and most of them cancel each other out, which is exactly why today we're breaking down Richmond's most distinctive and its most evolving neighborhoods. The truth? This city's in its glow-up era, and the experience looks different on every block. Some spots still stay overlooked and don't make that glossy magazine, but interest in them is growing fast because the neighborhoods people are talking about and the ones they're still discovering all play a part in Richmond's story right now. I still remember showing a client this old warehouse loft off Moore Street in Scott's Addition. We ducked through a rusty loading dock and smelled hops from the brewery next door, fresh paint and sawdust hanging in the air. The client looked around, wide-eyed, and said, "People actually live here now?" Yeah, and they really appreciate it. Another time, a couple relocated from Seattle stepped onto a Manchester rooftop right at golden hour. The sky lit up behind the skyline, and the husband whispered, "This feels like a movie." Richmond has a way of doing that, turning an industrial moment into something unexpected. That's Richmond in a nutshell, a city that smells like beer, brick dust, and new beginnings. It reinvents itself in bold ways with grit under its nails and murals fighting for wall space. Every block has a story. If you want to see where Richmond stopped waiting for permission and started reinventing itself, look right at Manchester and Scott's Addition. If Richmond had a comeback anthem, these two neighborhoods would be the hook. Scott's Addition and Manchester didn't just get trendy, they redefined what Richmond living feels like. Scott's Addition used to smell like motor oil and metal shavings. Now it's espresso, yeast, and ambition. Warehouses that once made parts for machines now pump out craft beer, cider, and creative startups. Those massive brick walls didn't get torn down, they got second lives, thanks in part to historic tax credits that made all of this reinvention actually possible. I once toured a building mid-renovation, half drywall, half exposed brick, and the developer pointed to a rough edge in the flooring. "That's where the stamping machine sat in 1946, he said. "We kept it. It's part of the soul." Those little moments tell you everything about what Scott's Addition really is, a remix of history and hustle. Across the river, Manchester's glow-up hits different. The skyline views turn molten when the sun drops behind the James. Art students, architects, and longtime locals all share the same sidewalks, and somehow it just works. It's not polished to death. It's real, raw, and Richmond learning how to shine without losing its bite. I had this one couple who swore they'd never leave the fan. They were diehard about their block, their coffee shop, their little patch of row house charm. Then we toured this raw Manchester loft with exposed concrete, echoing footsteps, and that skyline framed in steel windows. Halfway through, she turns to me and says, "Okay, this feels like grown-up Richmond." 3 weeks later, they closed. That's the thing about this city. It sneaks up on you and steals your heart when you least expect it. Look, if you're watching this and realizing you might want a piece of this Richmond momentum for yourself, don't wait on the sidelines until the next wave hits. I'm the local Richmond relocation specialist of choice. Born here, built here, still in the mix every day. You can call me, text me, or email me. All my information's in the description. Whether you're chasing that skyline loft in Scott's Addition or converted brick beauty in Manchester, I'll help you lock in your spot before it becomes the next big thing on somebody else's list. When the city hum gets loud, this is where Richmonders go to breathe. Hanover, Ashland, and Mechanicsville have that easy rhythm that sneaks up on you, the kind of calm you don't notice until your shoulders drop. Hanover keeps it grounded. You'll still catch the smell of wood smoke on fall evenings, fields that stretch wide, and stars bright enough to stop you mid-sentence. Yet it isn't the middle of nowhere. Richmond Connects lists Hanover among the fastest growing commuter corridors, where average drive times hover just under 30 minutes. It's country calm with city access, and that combo is gold right now, especially for an underrated community hiding in plain sight. I once had a client from Northern Virginia come out to Hanover expecting cornfields and nothing else. We pulled into a neighborhood with horses grazing behind split rail fences, kids riding bikes, a neighbor bringing tomatoes over the fence, and she just sighed. Then there's Ashland, the center of the universe, as locals say without a hint of irony. The trains slice through downtown every few hours, and every whistle echoes off cafes like Iron Horse and Trackside Grill. Those small-town rituals aren't just quaint, according to the Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 study. Towns like Ashland add millions in event day spending from regional visitors chasing exactly this hidden gem vibe. Between Randolph-Macon students and the weekend arts crowd, it's a microeconomy that thrives on community and caffeine. I showed a house here last spring, right off Thompson Street. We stepped out onto the porch and the afternoon train rolled by. My client just stood there, coffee in hand, grinning. She said, "It's like the whole town just pauses for a second." And she wasn't wrong. That sound is Ashland's heartbeat. It's not noise, it's rhythm. Mechanicsville feels like the seasoned local, steady, loyal, and a little protective of its roots. But even here, you can see Richmond's creative wave rippling out. People priced out of Scott's Addition or Manchester are heading east for yard space and sanity. The VCU and VCU Health Economic Impact Report backs that migration trend, with tens of thousands of city-based workers fueling housing demand in the surrounding counties. Mechanicsville answers with brick traditionals, mid-century gems, and the kind of cul-de-sac calm you can't fake, an overlooked favorite for people wanting roots without chaos. Here's what ties these three together. They're not chasing the city's next big thing. They're building their own steady version of it. The breweries, coffee shops, and music festivals that anchor the creative core, you can feel their afterglow here, but on a slower, softer frequency. Tell me in the comments, are you more buzzing skyline or porch swing and quiet train whistle? I'm curious which side of Richmond feels like home for you. These hidden charmers don't beg for attention, they earn loyalty. But just wait, because the next chapter of Richmond's story belongs to the neighborhoods that are still rough around the edges, still scrappy, and starting to burn bright. If Richmond had a most reliable winter award, Short Pump and Glen Allen would own it. These suburbs keep the city's rhythm, but swap the hordes and murals for green space and good Wi-Fi. Short Pump is convenience turned lifestyle. You can hit Whole Foods, grab coffee and a bagel at Cupertino's, sneak into a matinee, and still make the kids' game before dinner. Richmond 300 actually flags this corridor as one of the region's strongest growth engines, and you feel it. With Innsbrook's tech and finance corridor expanded and VCU health talent drifting west, you've got a pocket economy built on steady paychecks and schools that have won a variety of awards. I once worked with a tech couple relocated from San Francisco. They said Short Pump felt like the suburbs on purpose. Not sprawl, not soulless, just intentional. Trails looping behind neighborhoods, breweries tucked into corporate parks, everything minutes apart. They ended up in West Broad Village because they loved walking to dinner more than they expected. What outsiders miss is how local the energy still feels. At Hardywood West Creek, half the crowd on a Saturday has dogs, toddlers, and laptops, and the rest are catching live music under string light. AEP6's latest creative economy report pegs millions in arts-related audience spending coming from these suburban zip codes. It proves that culture didn't stop at the city line. It just grabbed a picnic table and a beer. Then there's Glen Allen, the classic that refuses to fade. Older trees, older diners, deeper pride. It's where multi-generation Richmond families plant roots. Glen Allen is the neighborhood where your mechanic remembers your dad's truck, and Friday nights still mean real high school football lights, not LED turf glow. It's stable, it's grounded, and it still finds its way to grow. Richmond Connect's data shows commute times holding steady even as population rises, which pretty much sums Glen Allen up. It's evolving without ever feeling rushed. I once had a client touring Glen Allen who paused outside an old brick ranch while a neighbor swept his porch as the sun was setting. "This feels like the neighborhood I grew up in," she said. That's Glen Allen, nostalgia wrapped in convenience, with growth happening quietly behind the scenes. Shore Pump and Glen Allen hold Richmond's confidence. Polished but not pretentious. Practical but proud. They prove that suburban doesn't have to mean sterile. But comfort isn't the whole story, because just beyond these polished neighborhoods are the fighters, the places rewriting their reputation block by block, where revival doesn't come from planning documents, but from people with grit. It's really cold out today, y'all, so I had to hop in my car and warm up while I tell you about the next couple of places. So let's talk contrast. The Fan and Church Hill are Richmond's main character energy zones. Walkable, historic, full of personality, and maybe just a little smug about it. Then out west, you've got Midlothian, Moseley, and Bon Air, the family suburbs that traded parking tickets for backyards and still make it into the city before the cold brew melts. It's not a rivalry, but it feels like one sometimes. The Fan is pure atmosphere. Morning dog walks on Monument Avenue, coffee at lamplighters, the smell of bread rolling out of Cuba Cuba before the streets even awake. Porch plants, bikes everywhere, and the constant low buzz of conversation from Strawberry Street to Carytown. Everything's close, unpredictable, and alive. Richmond 300 calls this the gold standard of human-scale design, the kind of layout cities wish they could replicate today. Then there's Church Hill. The view from Libby Hill Park could stop time, with the skyline on one side and the James River shimmer on the other. The old brick row houses hold stories you can feel in the floorboards. But this isn't a museum. The Heritage Stewardship Plan made sure it stayed real by favoring adaptive reuse instead of demolition. Now you've got the Roosevelt turning Sunday dinners into events, Alamo barbecue filling the air with smoke and laughter, and a creative crowd that values grit just as much as polish. One morning showing a row house near Libby Hill, I watched a man sit on his stoop with coffee, nodding at every passerby like he knew them. My client whispered, "This feels like a neighborhood that looks after each other." That's Church Hill, beautiful, lived in, communal. Now head southwest. Midlothian, Moseley, Bon Air, these are the fam suburbs. Don't sleep on them. Bon Air has this retro charm with big porches, mature trees, and that mid-century brick that reminds you of visiting your grandparents. Moseley is where new builds meet lake views and walking trails, and Midlothian is basically the anchor with restaurants that pack out on Thursday and school zones that move like clockwork. These aren't sterile suburbs, they're Richmond's reset button. Let's talk about the comeback kids. Neighborhoods once labeled, maybe one day. Guess what? One day showed up. The growth out here isn't loud, it's steady and intentional. Verona has the perfect country meets city rhythm. Fields that smell like morning dew. Lunch at Rocket's Landing, or the lily pad 10 minutes later looking out over the river. Capitol Trail breezes lift in the air. Calm and openness without disconnect. It's no wonder people are whispering that Verona feels like Richmond's next chapter, an underrated mix people don't realize they're chasing until they see it. I once had a Florida client who said, "I want peace, but not isolation." We pulled into a quiet new construction Verona neighborhood. Birds, trees, sunlight. Then 5 minutes down the road, coffee, riverfront, or in the other direction, city energy. They looked at me and said, "This is it. This is the balance." And then there's the East End, the soul of Richmond that's finally being seen again. Longtime locals know this side of town has changed more in the last decade than it did in the 3 before it. You'll see new townhomes and coffee shops, families walking to East End Market on Saturdays, and murals on old brick that tell stories of resilience. There's grit here, but it's proud grit, a creative kind. Every small business that opens feels like a statement. We're still here and we're still building. Walk these streets and you'll feel the soundtrack. Construction hums, church bells, laughter through screen doors, music drifting from open windows, old brick, new paint, real life. Verona and the East End prove Richmond's heartbeat doesn't stop downtown. It runs through communities that refuse to be forgotten. Every city has wild cards, neighborhoods that shift from wait, where is this again, to how is everyone suddenly talking about this place practically overnight. Brooklyn Park, Belmead, and Blackwell are evolving in real time. One block has 1950s brick ranches with porch chairs that haven't moved in 20 years. The next has a freshly painted duplex with solar panels and bikes hanging from the rails. Old Richmond and New Richmond learning to dance. Brooklyn Park is the underrated neighborhood people are finally waking up to. Bones with character, big porches, mature trees, strong foundations. Now the energy is catching up. Smoky mud pulling Saturday crowds, murals rising under power lines, neighborhood cleanups ending with someone firing up the grill. I once walked a client down Brooklyn Park Boulevard on a Tuesday morning. A man sipping his coffee from a coffee shop window paused to wave. A woman carrying a bouquet from the flower shop smiled, and my client whispered, "This neighborhood feels like it's rooting for itself." Head south and you see what planning looks like when it works for the people already there. Belmead and Blackwell are in the middle of transformation. Crosswalks, lighting, sidewalks, safer school zones, small things until you've walked them daily. The Fall Line Trail slicing through Belmead will change everything. Imagine biking from your neighborhood into downtown without dodging traffic. That's not just infrastructure, that's dignity. You still feel the tension, sure. Some homes boarded up, others just renovated. Families that have held it down for generations alongside newcomers with tool belts and plans. But that's what makes it real. Progress in Richmond doesn't erase it, it layers it. Here's the thing about Richmond. It's not just changing, it's charging forward. The skylines filled in, cranes return to the riverfront, neighborhoods once worlds apart feel connected again. Richmond is rewriting its own playbook. The Diamond District is moving dirt, not just a ballpark, but an ecosystem, apartments, trails, restaurants, public spaces. Richmond 300 and the Code Refresh zoning overhaul push behind the scenes, setting the stage for more housing, smarter density, walkable neighborhoods. Zoom out, transportation is the thread pulling everything together. Pulse BRT expansion down West Broad, the Fall Line Trail carving at Green Spine from Ashland to Petersburg. Experts estimate $90 million in annual spending once it's complete. But the real value is lifestyle. Rail is next. Transforming rail in Virginia is shrinking the distance to DC. Faster, more frequent trains, better stations. Less time behind brake lights. More time living. Progress isn't just for newcomers. Richmond Connects and Vision Zero are improving the same corridors that carried risks for decades. Safer school zones, better lighting, crosswalks that actually protect people. Equity in motion. You can feel the shift. Graduates staying instead of leaving, locals opening businesses near new transit lines, people walking, biking, gathering, living. The momentum's real. The pride's louder, and even with all the construction, Richmond still feels personal. You walk into a spot you love, see familiar faces, and feel remembered. That's rare. Richmond's growing up without growing cold. Here's the truth. Richmond doesn't hand you a lifestyle. You have to claim it. That's what makes it addictive. Every street here has its own rhythm. Listen long enough and you'll find yours. We've seen it up close, a couple leaving DC for more space and less chaos, now hosting Sunday cookouts in Bon Air. A man who swore Manchester was too industrial, now drinking morning coffee with a skyline view and a 5-minute bike ride to work. That's what Richmond does. It surprises you, then it sticks. If you're ready to find your spot in the story, that's where I come in. I'm a native Richmonder, a relocation specialist, and I know RVA like the back of my hand. If you're thinking about moving here, reach out. It'll be me you're talking to. I'm always happy to answer your questions and be your guide to the real Richmond. And if you're still exploring, check out my playlist, Living in Richmond, Virginia, the Real Life series. It's packed with neighborhood deep dives, real talk, and insider details you won't hear anywhere else. Richmond's moving fast, and the story's just getting good.